So the last game of the Saturday action have just finished, and I gotta say, tonight's action is as perfect of an MLS action as I will ever see, because not only the fact that we saw a lot of goals that was scored tonight, but we saw some very crazy goals. We saw a couple of guys getting their first ever MLS career goals. We saw some controversy that has happened that led to a crazy sequence, and we also saw a last minute winner that happened in one of the game, and it capped off with a Rocky Mountain Cup where right at the end of the game things kind of got a little bit ugly and was kind of just a cherry on the top in terms of just really probably the best night I have seen in terms of all these games happen in an MLS action in a very long time. But with that being said, let us actually get into the first game, which is the Chicago Fire versus the Columbus Crew, and the Crew will feel like this is a victory for them. Because coming into this game, without Zalarian and also without Nagbe, you would think that the Crew would be lucky. The fact that they were able to get a point against a Chicago team that, judging by their inconsistent state, they were due to get a win in this game. And they got off to a great start in this one. 10 minutes into this game, Georgi Mihailovic would score from Beric and Madron. Very unfortunate to see Mihailovic would be subbed off with an injury just 4 minutes later. But before that, it would be Robert Beric, who finally broke his goal drought that he's been having going all the way back to March when he scored from Herbert to give Chicago a 2-0 lead. And at that point, it looked like this was going to be something similar to what Chicago did to the other Ohio team, that is FC Cincinnati, where they get off to a great start with 2 goals inside 15 minutes at home, and this looked like it's going to be pretty much the Fire to pretty much dominate this game. But Columbus, they did started to come back into this game, but unfortunately they just look very lackluster going forward on the attack. And I think this has a lot to do with without Zarian and how they really missed that creative player. And also all those goals that they conceded today and all those big chances that Columbus conceded to Chicago might has to do with Nagbe not being there, and that if Darlington Nagbe was in the starting 11, I don't think those bad mistakes that this Crew defense gave up in this game would have happened in this. But it was a 2-0 lead heading into halftime in this game. And in the second half, this is when the Crew really start to wake up. And that, unlike in the first half where when they did woke up, they were kind of a little bit lackluster going forward. In the second half, they actually finally got things going on the attack. And Shuttleworth had to really work hard to preserve this 2-0 lead. First, he denied Luis Diaz a chance to get one back for Columbus before he made a spectacular save on Jonathan Mensah. I mean, he basically hit that one with power and precision from 4 yards out, and 9 out of 10 times that's going into the back of the net. But what a save that was from Bobby Shuttleworth with some cat-like reflexes to keep that one out. Then, just 1 minute later, Room would deny Madron as it started to kind of become a little bit end-to-end between both of these teams. But eventually, Columbus does get that goal back, and it would be Fatai Alashe that scores from Zardes and Santos. Originally, they said that Zardes was credit in terms of that goal, but I feel like they kind of had to change it because it looked like Alashe got the last touch off of that header. And it's always great to see Fatai Alashe score a goal for whatever team he is in, knowing the fact that he will always remember as a fan favorite for the San Jose Earthquakes. But at 2-1 at that point, I thought Columbus had the momentum, but then Chicago realized that, yeah, they really need to think about putting this game away before Columbus is going to really find their steam and able to get the equalizer. And they looked like they were going to put it away in the 76th minute when Madron, he was one-on-one with Eloy Room, and somehow, in some way, he wasn't able to put away that chance. And then just 9 minutes later, Room would be able to make a spectacular save on Elliot Collier, but Frankowski literally was in the back post, and all he had to do was basically tap that one into the back of the net, and somehow, in some way, he did not put that one away. And that this is why, this is also a game I feel like for the Chicago Fire was very similar to the one when they play against Columbus last time, where they had moments in terms of scoring goals, and they had moments to potentially score the goal to really kind of put the game away, and they weren't able to take advantage of that. And just like last time in that game against the Columbus Crew, they would be made punished for not putting this game away and not able to finish those chances in those big moments, because just 3 minutes later, Jerzy Zardes would score to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that would be the final score of this game, as Columbus, they were able to get a come-from-behind victory despite the fact that they were very depleted coming into this game. And the shots in this game, 15 shots compared to 20 that Columbus had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal. 10 shots off target compared to 6 that Chicago has. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Chicago has. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Chicago Fire has. And that, again, for the Columbus Crew and for Caleb Porter's team, this will definitely feel like a win with the way that they were able to come back despite the fact that they were depleted. And for Chicago, not only it's not a great feeling to blow a 2-0 lead and concede a late goal, but again, those moments, if they were able to take advantage of those moments that they had to put this game away, they probably would have got all 3 points coming out of this game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is a game that a lot of people thought it was going to end 0-0 between DC United versus the Red Bulls in this Atlantic Cup, because both of these teams tends to struggle in terms of scoring goals, but it turns out the Red Bulls were the one that finally were able to end a little bit of their goal drought. Although early in this game, it was kind of expected, where I thought this was going to be a very boring game and both teams were going to struggle going forward on the attack. And while DC had all the possession in the first 20 minutes of the game, neither team really did anything in the final third to potentially create a big chance to get the opening goal. Now, in the 24th minute, DC finally registered their first shot after over 100 minutes play. And the reason why I want to bring that one up is that I think DC United fans must be relieved the fact that they finally were able to be on the stat chart after what happened last game, where they only become the second team in MLS history to not register a single shot in the entire game. And that if there was fans in the stands for this game, I think there's going to be some kind of sarcastic kind of cheer with the way that DC was able to finally register their first shot after just over 100 minutes without doing it. Now, speaking of first, the Red Bulls finally were able to score a goal in a bit of a long time, because after almost about 250 minutes without scoring a goal, Aaron Long would score from Kaku. Great delivery. This was from Kaku from the free kick, and Aaron Long was basically left wide open in the box to basically head that one in. Criminal defending from DC United, but the Red Bulls will definitely take it, and they have the upper edge heading into the last 15 minutes of this game. Now, DC had a chance to equalize just 9 minutes later, but Merritt made a great save on Rivas, who had a chance to not only get an equalizer, but get his first ever goal for DC United and his first ever MLS career goal. Then in the second half, Royer would double the lead from Pinden and Kaku, and this was an absolute sensational finish. That was from Royer, to able to hit that one on the volley and puts it into the back of the net. And normally I would write that might be a goal of the week candidate, but judging by the fact that, as you're going to see in the rest of the review, where we had a lot of good goal of the week nomination for this weekend action, you know, it's going to be tough to say that this is going to be deserved in the running, considering there was also a lot of great goals that also was scored this week. But take nothing away from that being a good goal, and that the Red Bulls were able to double their lead up. Then Mara had to be subbed off. What it looked like he suffered an injury, and that Janssen had to come in to replace him. And his first act of action came in the 70th minute, when Janssen was able to rob Higuain as he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But that was really the last chance that DC United has, because you would think that normally when a team that are down 2-0, they would kind of throw things forward and try to get one back so that they can make the game on. But you got to remember, this is DC United, and that they tends to struggle in terms of going forward on the attack. And as soon as, if it's like a 1-0 game, you know they're probably going to lose. And it looked more like the Red Bulls were the one that were going to get that third goal. They had a couple of chances right around stoppage time to make it 3-0. But ultimately, it finished 2-0 in favor of the New York Redbulls. And the shots in this game, 10 shots compared to 8 that DC had, 6 shots on goal compared to 5 that DC United has, 3 shots off target compared to 2 that DC United has. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that the New York Redbulls had. And, with this win, let's see if this is going to be a win that can kind of turn things around for this Red Bulls team that has been on just such a horrible winless run. Whereas for DC United, yeah, their horrendous run just kind of continue. And I know a lot of DC United fans every single game, not only they probably won't care about the fact that they lost another game, but they probably are even more demanding now that they want the front office to finally fire Ben Olsen, and that I really think Ben Olsen is got to be the next coach that potentially is going to be fired this season with how bad DC United has looked this season despite all the talent that they brought in the offseason. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Florida Derby, and for the second game in a row, Miami was involved in a game where there was a crazy sequence that happened, although unlike last time where they were involved with a crazy sequence, and in the end they were very happy and kind of in some way celebrate the fact that happened, because that turns out to be the difference between them winning the game against Atlanta. In this crazy sequence, they must be fuming with some of the referee decision that went against in this game. Now, in the first half, Orlando City, I thought, were the better team, and they almost got the opening goal when Nani almost scored from the free kick, but unfortunately hits the post. There was a couple of half chances for both teams, but neither of them looked good going forward. Before, in the 34th minute, Orlando City was able to get the opening goal, and unfortunately, it's Reyes, the one that scored the own goal, and this was just kind of one of those situations when the ball was put so perfect from a free kick in an area where it's kind of like no man's land if you're a defender, where you got to be very careful when you try to head it away and that you don't head it into the back of the net. Well, unfortunately, Reyes didn't get that memo, and it was a great finish that he puts that one into the back of the net. Only problem is he put it into his own net, and that Orlando City are able to take a 1-0 lead up to that point. Now, in the 42nd minute, it could have been 2-0 in favor of Orlando City, but Robles was able to make another big save, this time on Nani again on the free kick. Nani must be thinking, what does it take in terms of him continuing to put some beautiful free kick either in the box or strike at that one for it to basically hit into the back of the net, because he's been kind of snake bitten with the way that twice he has been denied by the post on the free kick, and then the third time it was Robles making an incredible save to deny him a chance to get on the score sheet. Now, in the second half, I thought Miami started to have more of the possession, and that Orlando, they looked like they were already shutting down shop. And this is where I got a little bit worried about Orlando City, and that I feel like Oscar Pereira probably didn't learn the same lesson from that Atlanta game, where in that game where Orlando City kind of decided to shut down shop early and be a little bit complacent, they eventually were punished in the 90th minute. And unsurprisingly, it happened again. They were left punished for being complacent because Miami would get the equalizer, and of all people that was able to score a goal in this game, it would be Brek Shea, the Troll guy, scored from Pizarro to tie the game up. And when I saw Brek Shea, of course, score the goal, I have a feeling, yeah, Orlando City is probably not going to get anything out of this, because anytime when you let Brek Shea score a goal against you, you know that you're probably not going to get all 3 points. But to the credit of Orlando City, they did quickly rebound after they conceded that goal, and it didn't take them very long to do it, as Mauricio Pereira would score for Mueller to give them a 2-1 lead. Then this is where the crazy sequence happened, and cue the Benny Hill theme music in this play, because in the 77th minute, and just kind of like what I said last time in that game between Inter Miami versus Atlanta United, where I'm just gonna first talk about the end result of this. And the end result of this crazy sequence was that there was no penalty given to Inter Miami after there was an offside that was called prior to Schmeichel. Looked like he made a tackle on Carenza. And I think, and also during that play, Schmeichel, of course, got away with a second yellow. But go all the way back in the beginning of this play. First of all, they were actually going to VAR to check whether or not if Schmeichel actually brought down Carenza in the box. And when I look on the replay, it was pretty clear that he brought him down in the box and that it looked like VAR is going to reverse that decision, which they did exactly that. They said it was a penalty for Inter Miami, and Orlando City was down to 10 men because Schmeichel has already got a yellow card, and that was his second yellow to basically get his marching order. Or at least that's what we thought that was going to happen, because literally 20 seconds later after that decision to make, and I'm not quite sure did one of the AR decide to overrule this decision, but apparently they said it was no penalty for Inter Miami, and the reason why there was no penalty was that they were actually not checking to see whether or not if there was a penalty that happened in the play, but rather whether or not if there was actually an offside during the previous play. Now, that was kind of strange of the reason why they were checking for offside, because the ball didn't go into the back of the net. And when you, of course, check offside, usually you only check offside when the ball, of course, were put into the back of the net. So there was definitely a lot of confusion over there of why exactly they were checking on offside when there wasn't, the ball didn't end up into the back of the net. By the way, despite this kind of crazy and confusing kind of sequence, the bottom line is I think the referee got the right decision, and I know Miami fans are going to be furious about this play, but anytime when you have a situation where prior to when Schmeichel made that tackle on Carenza, where there was an offside call on the attacking sequence, after that, pretty much everything is invalid, and that this is kind of the reason why Orlando City got away with giving up a penalty, and that Schmeichel was a very lucky boy in terms of being still on the pitch and not get his second yellow, despite the fact he clearly brought Carenza down in the box. But anyway, for the last 13 minutes, despite the fact that Orlando kind of escaped, concede a penalty that they might have just conceded the lead again. Miami was really attacking them, and it was pretty much squeaky bum time for a lot of those Orlando City fans. But unlike last time, where they weren't able to hold on to the victory against Atlanta, they were able to do it this time against Inter Miami. And in terms of the shots in this game, 12 shots compared to 8 that Orlando City has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 4 shots off target compared to 6 that Miami has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 3 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession. And again, I know Miami fans are going to be fuming in terms of that confusion that it has in some of the referee decision, but the bottom line is, welcome to MLS. This is going to be something that pretty much every team's going to have to deal with, and as much as I want to say that, the MLS or referee organization known as Pro should do much better in terms of fixing this situation, the bottom line is every team's going to have to kind of live through this, and that, now you probably know what every team has to deal with whenever they have either a decision in this that was kind of confusing that kind of got against them, or the fact that there was a referee decision that kind of got against them in this game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Union versus the Revs, and it looked like the Revs stole a point in this game against the Philly, or against the Union, and that it looked like this was going to be a very frustrating night for the Union, despite the fact that late in this game they had a man up, and after scoring a goal late in the game, it looked like they were going to pretty much put this one away. But before all of that, back in the first half, there was really not much happening in the first 20 minutes of this game. The first chance came in the 25th minute when Shibelko just bent a shot that was wide of the net. Then Glenson had a chance to score the opening goal, but unfortunately he hit his shot just wide, but you can definitely sense that the Union was starting to control this game and that they were getting a little bit closer in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net when Turner was able to rob Aronson and made a good save on him to keep this one at 0-0. But then on the other end, just 3 minutes later, Kellen Rowe probably should have put away this chance from about 6 yards out. I mean, he did a great job in terms of able to locate this ball that was coming into the box, but all he needed to do was just put the finishing touch, and unfortunately he wasn't able to do that, and he just dragged it wide, and that this game remains 0-0 heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, Philly got a huge boost in terms of their chance of getting the opening goal when Matt Poster was handed his second yellow card and handed his marching order because of that, and that the Union were going to have a man up for the remaining 33 minutes of this game. And they almost waste no time to take advantage of that man up when Shibilko, you talk about how Kellen Rowe had a big chance in terms of getting the opening goal, and he had a pretty bad miss. This was probably even worse of a miss because Shibilko was literally wide open, and all he had to do was just tap this ball in from 2 yards out, and yet somehow in some way he basically put that one wide. Now, the good news for him is that the Union eventually did get that opening goal, and it came in the 74th minute when Fontana was able to score a goal from Shibilko, and that, at least for Shibilko, he kind of redeemed himself to be on the help chart. But I'm pretty sure as a striker, as much as you at least are on the help chart there, you are definitely going to be left frustrated the fact that you weren't the one that scored the goal, and you had a big opportunity to do it just 17 minutes prior to that. And at that point, I thought the game is over, and that I thought the Revs, there was just no way back for them to come with the way that I knew that eventually when Philly was going to score this first goal, there was just no way back for the Revs. 6 minutes later, Buchanan scores his first ever MLS career goal from Gustavo Bo, and this was definitely a pretty surprising goal, considering the fact that I thought the Union was going to get that second goal, and it looked like the refs might have actually able to steal a point away in this game, despite the fact that they were down to 10 men for the last 30 minutes of the game. And as the clock was winding down, that looked like it was a higher possibility until literally the last second of the game, and really the final kick of the game. Fontana would score his second goal, and this is definitely going to be up for contention for goal of the week, and I think this might actually win goal of the week, knowing the fact that not only this was an amazing goal that he basically whacked this one from about 30 yards out, but the timing of the fact that he, of course, was able to score a last second winner maybe is going to be the reason why he is probably going to win goal of the week, with how amazing that this goal, of course, score. And that goal, of course, would give the Union a 2-1 lead, and they would, of course, end up winning by that scoreline. As the shots in this game, 15 shots compared to 9 that the Revs had, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Revs had, 5 shots off target compared to 6 that the Revs had, 5 shots out of block compared to 1 that the Revs had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession. And despite the fact that the Union didn't really play very well and at times looked very sloppy in this game, they were still able to get all 3 points in this game. And if you're the Revs, this is definitely pretty heartbreaking, the fact that they were this close in terms of stealing a point away from Philly, and yet they just fell short at the final hurdle. But that being said, I am now going to switch the board and look at the last 4 games that happened in today's Saturday action around MLS. So I actually made a slight mistake in this review where I should have put this game right after the Redbulls versus DC United game, because this one kicked off at around 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, which is right around the same time as the Redbulls and DC United play. And this was before when Orlando City versus Inter Miami and the Philly versus New England match, of course, is take place. But either way, talking about this game between NYCFC versus FC Cincinnati, well, NYCFC did get the victory over FC Cincinnati, but boy, they made it look hard. near the end, and it was definitely some edge of your seat moment if you were an NYCFC fan in the last 15 minutes of this game. Now, in the first half, and 5 minutes into this game, NYCFC had a big chance to get the opening goal when Teton was able to deny Aber a chance to get the opener. Well, actually, to be fair, I wouldn't say that's a big chance for NYCFC, because judging how much Aber has been struggled this year, and even though he had that one goal that looked like had finally broke his curse in terms of scoring a goal, it seemed like it's coming back with the way that he's once again struggling in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net. And again, NYCFC had loads of chances to put the ball into the back of the net and get the opening goal, but just like that game against DC United, no finishing product is the reason why they weren't on the score sheet for the first 25 minutes in the game. Then in the 30th minute, this is when things went bad for NYCFC, because they saw Maxi Morales look like he had an ankle injury that he suffered, and that he, of course, have to be subbed off. And this is definitely bad news for NYCFC, because we know how when they don't have Maxi Morales on this team, this NYCFC team just does not look like a good team when they do not have Maxi Morales. And they better hope that that injury is not really a bad injury that will keep him out for another couple of weeks. Now, just 8 minutes later, after NYCFC lost Maxi Morales, they actually took they were able to finally take their chances and get the opening goal of this game, and it's Alex Ring from Mackay Stevens. Now, originally, it looked like there was an offside call, and certainly the FC Cincinnati defender were thinking that that was offside, but on the replay, it looked like Gutman was able to just keep Ring onside, and therefore the goal was given after they did do a little bit of a brief check to see whether or not if that was an offside and that goal should be disallowed. Now, in the second half, Sean Johnson made an easy save after DeYoung was trying to whack at it from about 25 yards out, and then they would make it 2-0 in favor of FC Cincinnati when Tinnerholm were able to score what looked like could be the goal of the week, although, as I said before, there's already a lot of nomination, I think, this week that is going to be goal of the week, so I'm not quite sure if this one is going to win it or not. By the way, it gave NYCFC a 2-0 lead, and you're thinking, well, that's pretty much game, set, and match, because FC Cincinnati is most likely not coming back from this. However, in the 74th minute, after going over 500 minutes without scoring a goal, they finally broke that drought when Brendan Vasquez was able to give one back for FC Cincinnati. And originally, this was a great save from Sean Johnson, but unfortunately, he paired it right back to Vasquez, who basically slots it into the back of the net to finally end the long drought that FC Cincinnati has had in terms of goal scoring. And then just 4 minutes later, they almost tied the game up when Sean Johnson absolutely robbed Kendall Waston with a spectacular save from close range. This was kind of similar to the amazing save that Bobby Shuttleworth put on Jonathan Mensah, where Waston was able to hit this one from close range and with a lot of pace from the header, but Johnson, with some cat-like reflexes, was able to keep that one out. And despite the fact that FC Cincinnati did push for the late equalizer, NYCFC were able to hold on into this game. As the shots in this game, 16 shots compared to 14 that FC Cincinnati has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal. 7 shots off target compared to 5 that FC Cincinnati has. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession. And that, for NYCFC, even though they got the 3 points in this game, it was not pretty whatsoever. And I guess, knowing the fact that this season has been relatively rough for them, I think they'll take this 3 points any way they can get. And as for FC Cincinnati, well, at least for the first time in these games where they find themselves down, at least they show some bit of a fight in terms of trying to get a point out of a game when they're finding themselves behind. But still, goal scoring is still going to be a big issue with this team, and hopefully maybe them finally able to score a goal after 500 plus minutes without scoring might be a sign where their attack can finally get going in these next couple of games. But moving on, in terms of the next match. Now, how many people saw this game as the game where it featured the most goal out of all the games tonight in MLS. And if you say yes, then you are clearly lying. Because I don't think anybody would have thought that after this game between Nashville versus Atlanta would have a 6-goal thriller, and that Nashville would be able to come out as the winning side and score 4 goals in this game. And even though I knew coming into this game that Nashville definitely have a big chance to play against an Atlanta team that definitely have a low confidence, I didn't think they were going to score 4 goals in this game. And that in many ways, this is probably the best attacking performance I've seen Nashville have done all season long. And that this crazy kind of goal scoring action started literally 50 seconds into this game when Baji was able to score his first ever goal for Nashville from McCarty and Mukhtar to give Nashville a 1-0 lead. And after that, Nashville kind of go into their deep block that they usually do and try to counter-attack Atlanta a chance to get more goals. But Atlanta eventually would respond in the 18th minute when Jeff Larentowicz was able to score from Ezekiel Barco to tie the game up at 1 apiece, but only for Nashville to have an answer just 10 minutes later as Hani Mukhtar, I believe this is his first ever MLS career goal from Domenico Baji to make it 2-1 in favor of Nashville before it was 3-1 in favor of Nashville when Dax McCarty was able to score from Daniel Lovitz. And I basically wrote, Atlanta United defense is just getting absolutely ripped to shed by this Nashville attack. Like, this Nashville attack that I saw is really just completely unrecognizable. And the way that if you didn't watch any Nashville game, and if you are watching a Nashville game for the very first time, you wouldn't think that they would be a team that actually struggle in terms of scoring goals. But at the same time, that Atlanta United defense probably played a big part of it, because this goal that McCarty scored, like, how in the world is he able to just walk through that Atlanta defense on the set piece and headed that one away is just absolutely criminal. And we head to halftime at 3-1 in this game, but Nashville was not done in the second half. In the 57th minute, Abu Denladi scored his first goal for Nashville from Dax McCarty. So McCarty had an amazing night, not only scoring the goal, but also get on the helpers chart. And if Abu Denladi is able to score a goal against your team, you know you're probably not going to get anything out of this game. Now, Atlanta did try to maul a little bit of a comeback when George Bello was able to score from Adam John and Jurgen Damm. But Nashville, they were looking to just sit deep like they did after they got the opening goal. But at least this time it makes more sense, because when you're up 4-1 like that, pretty much every team is just going to start to sit deep and just gonna see if their opponent can potentially come back into this. And knowing the fact that Atlanta hasn't shown the fact that they have been able to score more than 2 goals, I thought at that point it was pretty much game, set, and match. Although Nashville did try to make a big save. Well, not try to make a big save, but in the 85th minute, Willis did had to deny Torres as he of course was going through on goal. And as that rebound came right back to Cubo Torres, there was Dax McCarty, who, again, he had an amazing night in this game, and you could argue he could be up for the man of the match in this game with an incredible block on the line to deny Cubo Torres a chance to give Atlanta another goal and make this game even more interesting heading into the last 5 minutes. But overall, Nashville, with a record amount of goal that they score as they won 4-2 against Atlanta. Shots in this game, despite the fact there was a lot of goal, there wasn't really a lot of shots in this game, which also just shows you how both of these teams were very clinical in terms of their chances that they took. And Nashville had 9 shots compared to 10 that Atlanta has, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that Atlanta has, 3 shots off target compared to 4 that Atlanta has, no shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 40% possession compared to 60% possession that Atlanta has. And as I said before, this Nashville team, things are definitely looking on the bright side in terms of this team, and that if they can continue to play like this, or I wouldn't expect them to continue to look as amazing as they did in this game, but at least if they are playing like half or maybe a 3/4 of the way that they performed against Atlanta, this team is going to make make the playoffs. And I don't think anybody, after what they saw in the first two games of the season, thought that this team had any shots in terms of making the playoffs. But yeah, moving on in terms of the next match is the Texas Derby between Dallas and Houston. And at the end of this Texas Derby, it was FC Dallas that was able to get the El Capitan honor in this game over their interstate rival Houston. Now, in the first half, specifically, I thought the first half was a definition of bangers only between both of these teams. Because while it was a bit of a slow start with not a lot of chances that happened between both of these teams, in the 28th minute, Recate would score an absolute banger from 30 yards out to give FC Dallas a 1-0 lead. And this is also his first ever MLS career goal to, of course, give Dallas a 1-0 lead in the Texas Derby. And what a way to score your first ever goal in a rivalry match like this, and especially with a banger of a goal that he, of course, was able to score. Now, Zubak then had to deny Manotas a chance for Houston an equalizer. Obviously, Manotas will be feeling unlucky the fact that he wasn't able to score. But remember, this first half of the Texas Derby was really bangers only, and just 4 minutes later, it would be Memo Rodriguez that was able to score a banger from the free kick to tie the game up at 1 apiece, as it was all to play for heading into the second half in this Texas Derby. Now, in the 46th minute, it looked like Dallas had the lead back in just 1 minute into the second half, but they go to VAR to see whether or not when Mascara basically hits this one that came off the post and somehow goes right into the hand of Maric, that whether or not if Maric kind of screened that play in a way that the ball, of course, he was able to screen in a way that when the ball did kind of went into when the ball did cross the line, that VAR could not actually definitively see it. And, I saw multiple replay of this, and that he definitely did a good job in terms of screening, but I did see one angle where you can kind of see that ball was kind of on the line as he was basically scuffing this ball, and hope that it didn't cross the line. And that overall, I think it was the right call, the fact that they decided to stand with their original decision, which is no goal, and that it would have been very harsh, the fact that Houston would have gave up a goal in a way that there was no definitive evidence that ball crossed over the line. But eventually, Dallas did get that goal and get that lead back, and it would be Franco Jara score from Barrios and Hollinshead. But literally instantly after Dallas scoring a goal, you know that old saying that you are always the most vulnerable when you score a goal? Well, FC Dallas almost fell victim to this, because after there was a mad scramble in the box, Hollinshead was able to clear Quintero header off the line to preserve a 2-1 lead for FC Dallas. Houston continued to push for an equalizer, and that they had a chance to do it in the 84th minute when Zubak once again denied Manotas a chance to score a goal and a chance to get the equalizer. And despite the fact that Houston once again continued to put all the pressure on Dallas, and that it was pretty clear Dallas was holding on for dear life to get this 3 points, they were able to just get it over the line and get a victory in this Texas Derby against their hated rival. Now, the shots in this game, 13 shots compared to 16 that Houston had, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that Houston has, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that Houston has, 3 shots out of block compared to 8 that the Dynamo has, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that the Houston Dynamo has. And, for this FC Dallas team, with the way that they've been playing the last couple of games, it seemed like they are back to mid-season form after how much they kind of struggled in the first couple of games after trying to get themselves back to match fitness of them not playing in more than 6 months. And as for the Houston Dynamo, unfortunately, their unbeaten run comes to an end in this game, and that's just gonna have to quickly move on in this next game, and also hope that Albert lease deal that potentially is going to happen will actually go through, and that they will get a sum of money for that deal that they can improve on this team. But moving on into the last game of this review, and I'm going to say it, this is probably the most surprising result of this season. And I want to dearly apologize to the Colorado Rapids for saying back in the preview where I basically gave them no shot of winning this, and that I didn't see how RSL was going to drop a result in this game against the Colorado Rapids. Consider RSL was just red hot right now, and Colorado was going in the opposite direction and have been in the longest winless run any team in the league has dealt with 7 games. But after this game, you wouldn't know that the Rapids went on a 7-game winless run, and that it feels like this game, both teams basically decided to switch role, and it was Colorado Rapids' turn to really beat up on their Rocky Mountain Cup rival. Now, in the first half, and just 3 minutes into this game, Diego Rubio was able to score the opening goal to make it 1-0 in favor of the Rapids. He would then score again in the 10th minute to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids, and pretty much all those 4,000 fans in Rio Tinto Stadium are probably shocked the fact that their team quickly got themselves in a 2-0 hole just 10 minutes into this game. Then in the 18th minute, it almost was 3-0 in favor of the Rapids when Namely went through on goal, but Putna was able to deny a chance for the Rapids to make it 3-0. But for the remaining of the first half, Colorado was just in complete control, and that RSL, they looked like they were just unraveling. But despite the fact that heading into the second half where the Rapids had a 2-0 lead, I was assuming there's going to be pushback that RSL is going to give to Colorado, and there's just no way that RSL is just going to be looking this badly in the second half and just completely give up in this Rocky Mountain Cup. Well, 4 minutes into the second half, Sam Vines scored his first career MLS goal from Namely. Sam Vines kind of redeemed himself right at the end of the half because he also had a glorious chance to score his first MLS career goal, which he wasn't able to put it away. But this time he was able to easily put away after Namely played a beautiful ball toward the back post to him, which he basically just slots it home into the empty net. And it was 3-0 in favor of the Colorado Rapids. Before, it was 4-0 in favor of the Colorado Rapids when Galvan scored his first MLS career goal from Bassett and Rubio. And up until that point, that's when I believe, yeah, there's no way back for RSL in this game. As much as they have showed a lot of resiliency to come back, I didn't think that they were going to come back down 4-0, and you can definitely see there was frustration in this RSL team. And unfortunately, Douglas Martinez, he kind of took his frustration out off of Galvan because he basically decided to whack him in the face, which means that when you decide to do that, especially when you do it intentionally, you are going to get sent off, and that they, of course, did look at VAR to see if that is the case. It was. Martinez was given his marching order. Then, just 4 minutes later, Galvan had a chance to score a brace, but unfortunately he hit the post here, and he probably should have scored the brace here because he basically had a open net to shoot at from about 4 yards out, and I guess maybe at the last minute he kind of just lost his composure and he couldn't believe how open he was, and he basically hit the post at that point. But the Rapids eventually did get that 5th goal when Cole Bassett was able to score from Jeremy Kelly, who gets his first assist in his MLS career. And then after the game, when the Rapids were able to confirm as a 5-0 victor in this Rocky Mountain Cup, this is when tempers flares start to get. And I believe it was Galvan and Everton. They were kind of just being kind of trash talking each other, and there was some chippiness between both of those guys, and then it basically kind of kicked off. Now, the good news is coming out of this temper flare moment is that at least I didn't think there was punches that was thrown by both of these team, and that Everton, I think he might not get a suspension from this go in this instant, despite the fact that he actually came very close from grabbing his hand into Galvan's throat, and if he decided to do that, then yeah, he's definitely going to get a suspension for hands to the opponent, and probably going to get 1 game suspension for that. But either way, that kind of tempers flare, that not only is just kind of frustration from how RSL performed in this game, but if you're an RSL fan, you gotta be even more upset the fact that the team kind of was involved in this, because you basically just got completely flattered in this game, and the fact that you show more fight during that moment compared to the entire game just adds insult to injury, and you're even more frustration of how in the world they were able to just get absolutely wiped out of the map in this game against the Colorado Rapids. Shots in this game, 16 shots compared to 9 that RSL had, 8 shots on goal compared to 1 that RSL had, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that RSL had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that RSL had in this game. And, for the Rapids, is this going to be the turning point for them to get going this season? Because we saw it last season when they were off to just such a bad start to the season with an 11-game winless run, and as soon as they started to get victory, that's when the Rapids started to get hot and almost made it to the playoffs. And it's never too late to make a run right now, especially with the way that in the Western Conference, despite the fact that it is a very competitive conference, they're not that far off in terms of potentially getting that last spot in the playoff race. And as for RSL, you just got to move on from this resort. I mean, I feel like with the way that how every single team with the schedule being so tight like this, every team is going to have a resort, unfortunately, like this. And I guess maybe partially the reason why they just got absolutely destroyed in this game is that they had such a big victory against LAFC, and we've seen before when teams get big victory and had an emotional win in a game, their very next game they can get easily have a letdown, and you can clearly see this was a huge letdown for RSL, and that they thought that they can easily just play at home and just completely walk the cake against the Colorado Rapids, and they found the hard way after this game. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for my review of the Saturday action. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be doing the Sunday game, which there's going to be 4 games that is going to be happening. And unfortunately, one of those games is going to be the Cali Clasico between the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Galaxy, which, yeah, after I'm seeing some of these resort, and especially this Rocky Mountain Cup, after Colorado basically just absolutely destroyed against RSL, I'm now even less confident the fact that even though the Quakes have a good record against LA Galaxy at home, yeah, especially with the way that they just got absolutely walloped 7-1 against the Seattle Sounders, and the Galaxy are literally red hot right now head into this Cali Clasico. Something tells me we could maybe see something similar to that in that game. But then again, I did say this, in my opinion, is the most surprising resort of the season. Maybe in that Cali Clasico, somehow in some way the Quakes are going to find a way to blow out the Galaxy in that game. But either way, tomorrow I'm going to, of course, find that out and see whether or not if it's just going to be another frustrating resort, or if it's just going to be a game where I'm kind of surprised the fact that the team actually turned up for once. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.